little Batman and Robin action going on here. So let's start with the guy that we think is probably going to be the Batman of the room here, and that's Brian Burns, the mid-off-season trade acquisition here. Brian Burns still just 26 years old, 6'5", 250 pounds, 16th overall pick, originally out of Florida State. Last year, a little bit of a down year for him there. 16 games and all starts, 50 tackles, 8 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 18 QB hits, 2 passes deflected, a forced fumble recovery, and a 73.8 PFF grade. 2-time Pro Bowler, so get a little recognition around the league there. Thought of very highly. Remember a couple of years ago, the Rams offered multiple first-round picks to get this guy, and the Panthers were like, no. Somehow we got him for cheaper. I don't know how that works. I'm a little confused, but
I was about to say they gave the house away.
Didn't want him that badly right now at this point. It's a little odd, but he's that guy that if you look at his stats, the production hasn't been bad, but there's a lot of hype around him that's stronger than what the hype is. If that what the production is at that point there, people act like he's a top tier pass rusher, a guy that's like an unstoppable force. And he's not been that. Now, I'll say this. Originally, when we looked at his year last year, we're like, oh, that's a down year. It's a bad year for the Panthers. Is it him not playing hard? Is it a bad year? Talking to a lot of guys who follow the Panthers, the big thing I'm getting back is it's not that that he kind of took plays off. It's not that he kind of slowed down, not get hurt in a contract, potential year. The issue is more that they kept putting him into pass coverage, which just makes absolutely no sense when the guy who's supposed to be a top play pass rusher, right? I mean, why would you do that?
Yeah.
So he comes. He comes in now.
Do the opposite of getting to the quarterback.
Yeah. So he comes in now to the Giants, and we're gonna have a big change this year. We talked about obviously a lot the last couple of years about Wink Martindale's defense and his scheme because it's a different scheme than what you typically get. Kayvon Thibodeau last year passed the all-time, I think, Wink Martindale sack record in a Wink Martindale defense. That's not a heavy edge sack kind of defense. We talked about that initially when we got him. We kind of try to temper some people's expectations of what to expect out of the edge room, because the edge room is a jack of all trades in a Wink Martindale defense. Now, if you listen to everything coming out with Shane Bowen now, this is going to be a pin your ears back and go get the goddamn quarterback kind of defense.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a difference.
And there's a lot of talent that's going to be around him to help get him to be to that person. Yeah. To be the fat man. You said Batman, but let's be real. Batman is not this big.
Well, the fat man is Dexter Lawrence.
Touche.
Dexy's got that role covered. But he has that potential to do that. And I think I'm not going to go crazy and say he's going to do 15 sacks or anything crazy like that. I think that's a little ridiculous to say. But I do think that this is a guy who's probably going to get more along the lines of like a 12, 13 sack kind of season if he remains healthy and if he is truly put back into pin his ears back and go after the goddamn quarterback kind of defense. I don't know if that's what it's going to be or not. They say that. But until I see anything, I never trust reports in the offseason.
100%, especially from our upper management. They like to tell fabrications of what is going to happen, especially during the draft time.
Poker face.
Yeah.
But now Brian Burns got this big contract now. It's a $30 million a year kind of average year. Again, with incentives. We talked about that. He's got incentives. He got a hit to do that. But irregardless, if you take out the freaking incentives, this is a big damn contract. And he's got some work to live up to it. Because I'm telling you right now, if he does 8-9 sacks a season like he's done a lot of the years in Carolina. And I know sacks aren't the only thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying this as a example as far as how he gets to the quarterback there. He's got to make big plays. He's got to be that guy who's a star of the defense because you're getting paid like it.
Correct. And you know what? We've talked about this another edge that we'll probably be talking about it very soon. But if he doesn't consistently get like the tackles, he needs to be getting a lot of pressures, which allows other people on the defensive line or this other edge that we're going to be talking about to be getting more sacks. Like they need to be working as a solid unit together. And if he gets 10 sacks, this year coming up, it's a win for us, especially like how this defense is played. And like we know that Thibodeau's going to get sacks. We know that it's actually Dex is going to be getting snaps, like sacks. So like we know it's going to happen. So if you get three guys that have 10 plus sacks on the year
and snacks, okay.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say the snacks, little Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos were good back in the day. But
back in the day, that's diabetes 2.0.
I look at it like, again, if he hits like that 12 sack number, that's like, okay, you've reached that echelon now. Because if you look at pass rushers, I know people love talking about, I want 14 sacks, I want 15 sacks, crazy, higher numbers there. If you can get a guy who consistently averages 12 sacks a season, that's a win. That's a win right there. That's not something you get everywhere in the league at that point. So the question is basically, is that his ceiling, do we think? I mean, where do we think he's going to beat? I feel like people treat him, again, like a top-tier talent. And I'm not sure he's a top 5 pass rusher kind of guy. I think he has the potential to be a top 10 pass rusher, but not a top 5, if that makes sense. So,
I'm not like against what you're saying, but like this is optimistic Rob coming out. Like I'm not against what you're saying, but like there's also a lot of talent around him, which will help escalate his game. At the same time, it will also take away from some of the sacks and give him half sacks. So it has its pros and its cons, but it's an upgrade for him. It's an upgrade for us from where he was coming from, where what we have on our line. Like it's a win-win for both parties in this group. And if he starts averaging 12 sacks, like I don't think that's out of possibilities of what he could do. And like I don't think it's out of possibility like this guy could reach that top 5. Top 10 is more realistic, but like he has potential.
Oh yeah, and
or the height, one or the other.
The team around him is a huge difference. I mean, he had no help in Carolina whatsoever. This guy's getting double, triple teamed at that point when he's running to the quarterback because there's no one else to go after. Was Gross Matos going to be the one to go ahead and get the quarterback? I mean, they don't have a guy besides him. Exactly. That's the guy who played the other side of the football on the other side of the field with them. But
I know what you're talking about.
That's what they had. Oh, I know. I'm saying that's what they got. Like, at some point you go, okay, wrong defense. They're having him go into pass coverage a lot. We're going to supposedly let him pin his ears back and go get the damn QB. Had no help around him. Going to have Dexter Lawrence and the guy we're talking about in a minute here, Kayvon Thibodeau, with him.
Oh, spoiler.
I know. But I mean, that to me, you look at those things alone and go, okay, well, this is what he's shown when he's been put in pass coverage more than he probably should be, and he's had no help. I'm curious to see what the ceiling is, because like I said, a lot of people who I know that I have respect for their football IQ that think extremely high of this guy, extremely high of him. And I'm curious, do they see something I don't see? Because again, I'm high in him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not down on Brian Burns. I'm not down on the trade. I like the trade. The contract scares the bejesus out of me, to put it nicely. Because that's a ton of money for a guy who's never been a top tier talent yet. You're paying him top tier talent though. Like this is like this is like what you give Watt as a contract extension. That's what you're giving him. And what you're paying for is you're paying for what you hope is going to happen once you put him in the right system, where you put some help around him, and he enters his prime now. Because he's 26 years old, guys. That's still young. People forget he's been in the league like 4 years now. He's a younger player, so he's 26 years old. He's got another 5-6 years probably in that prime period that's going to be happening now.
So in a rebuttal, when you said what you paid Watt, I mean that's what you paid Watt when Watt was playing in NFL. But this is different.
No, I'm talking TJ Watt. I'm not talking.
Okay,
Wrong Watt.
Yeah, so many Watts.
So many Watts. There really is 3 of them. Sheesh. But yeah, I mean that's what I'm looking at. Is I'm like, okay, we got a guy who just hasn't hit that high potential, but we're going to pay him now as if he is. So he's got to live up to that now. And I'll tell you who's going to be in real trouble at this point if he doesn't is going to be Joe Shane, because I can imagine John Mara is going to be very happy. He will not be getting any free medium cokes if Brian Burns doesn't develop into a spectacular player. That's for damn sure. I mean, he's just got to. There's no doubt about it. When you give him that contract, he's got to be dominant. Like, not good, not very good. He's got to be dominant. To pay that kind of
money means,
yeah,
yep, that kind of money.
He is the second highest player. He's the second highest paid player on this team now to Daniel Jones. That's not good. Both the Daniel Jones or the him part.
I was going to say that depends on depends how you're looking at this.
I mean, I would have paid him in the 20s. I just think to even say 30, even to sniff 30 is ridiculous. Like, that's just insane. Absolutely insane. Maybe I'm old school. We used to pay people what $2-3 million to be top edge rushers in the league. So it's just like, I remember playing Madden as a kid going, this guy's making $4 million. I can't keep him on this payroll.
Well, also the payroll is like $27, but whatever.
I know. It was just weird. But yeah, like I said, we'll have to see. How does the change of scenery help him? How does the people around him help him? How does him? Because he's going to feel the pressure in that contract. Is that going to help him? I should say. How is it going to help? Is it going to help him? We haven't seen him try to live those kind of pressures at that point before. It's going to be an interesting season. It really is. And I got high hopes for him as a player. I just don't know if they're high enough.
You got
high hopes.
High hopes. You got high hopes.
I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know if for me to pay $30 million to a player, he's got to be not a Pro Bowler, but an All Pro.
So if he goes All Pro, it becomes like top 3. Are you gonna say, do we get a steal?
Yeah. If he does, I would say steal. I shouldn't take the back. I won't say steal, but we got an appropriately priced.
Well, maybe that's what
he's getting paid like as Myles Garrett. He's getting paid like as Myles Garrett. He's not Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett would probably not have been Myles Garrett with the Carolina Panthers.
Well, we'll see. And that's why we're going to have to see. That's where the is this right or not kind of thing goes through. So, we'll have to take a look. So let's take a look here.
Is it Burns or is it who is better? Is it Burns or is it his agent?
Oh, his agent's doing very good right now. I'll tell you that with that cut.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.